let's look at how to add or change our naming styles in Visual Studio. Now, for most of my training, I work to give you an in-depth perspective on a technology. But sometimes you just need to get the quick answer to the question, how do I use this or how do I do this? That's why I created the 10-minute training series. Let's dive right into the code. Here I have a API already set up for us. It's the standard out-of-the-box API, and this is just to give us some code to look at to compare how things work. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look at when I bring in a new dependency here in my controller inside of the constructor, I want the naming pattern to work like it already is right here. So this is Microsoft's code where I said, okay, it's private read only. Here's the type, and then it says underscore, and then it's camel case, the value. So underscore logger. And this corresponds to the logger that they passed in through the constructor. But when I do this, and I say comma, and I say I configuration, let's say config is the name. One of the things you can do is you can hit Control dot to create and assign the field. This is called a field up here, this private variable. So let's do that. Let's create and assign a field. And notice it doesn't name it underscore config, it named it config. And notice down here it doesn't say underscore config equals config like this logger does. It says this dot config equals config, which if you're not familiar with what it's doing is saying, hey, there's the local variable, which is a parameter called config. We're going to assign that to the class instances value of config, which is the same name. That's why it has to do it like that. But that's not what we want. We don't want it to work like this. We want it to look like this. So how do we change that? Well, let's get rid of this so we can have it back the way it was. And then let's go change how Visual Studio creates these automatically. Let's go to Tools, Options. And in here, I've already gone to it, but let's go back to where the beginning. Under Environment, normally is where you'll start. But if you come down here to Text Editor, you expand, go down to C#, Code Styles, Naming. This is where we can make the change. Notice that the naming changes here. It says, okay, for an interface, it should be given a capital I. This is a suggestion. For types, they should be Pascal case. That's a suggestion. Non-field members should be Pascal case. That's a suggestion. We're going to create our own for fields. A field is a private variable. So let's say add this little plus down here. We can say that we want to look for private or internal fields. We want to give it a style, but there's only two, Pascal case or starts with or begins with I. Neither one of those matches what we're looking for. So we're going to manage naming styles. And there's the two options. We're going to hit plus. We'll create our own naming style. Notice, because my font is larger, this box has to be expanded. But when it is, we can see the example identifier. Well, the naming style, let's call this our private field. I just call it private fields. Required prefix, underscore. No suffix, no word separators, but we don't want Pascal case, we want camel case. Now that matches the format we're looking for. We hit OK. That's private fields, we hit OK. Now we can say private fields. So private or internal fields. The required style is private fields. This can be refactoring only, a suggestion, warning, or error. Let's make a suggestion. We hit OK, and that's it. We're done. So now we can go, comma, I configuration, config, Control dot, create and assign the field. Notice it says underscore config. And now this matches what we expected up here, and this matches what we saw right here. So it matches the same format. You can go in and change any of these options you want. So if you want to change how, don't do it, but how interfaces work, you could do that. Or you could create new ones. Notice there's a lot of different naming things in here. So if you want all structs to start a certain way or all enums to look a certain way, you can do that. So this right here applies just to C# because we did it under the C# section. If you want something different for VB, you can do that. But that way, it's limited to the language, which is a good thing because different languages have different rules. All right, so that's how you change your Visual Studio to match this formatting, the one that's a much more standardized formatting for private fields, especially ones that come from dependency injection like this. All right, that's it. And that's how you change the naming style settings in Visual Studio. So are you going to use this or not? Let me know down in the comments. I use it all the time, and it's actually one of the things that's requested often. How did I do that? Well, now you know. Okay, if you want today's source code, such as it is, really it's just file new project. So just go ahead and do file new project for an API, and then you can follow along. Okay, thanks for watching, and as always, I am Tim Corey.